Canyon Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Indigenous communities face severe threats from pollution impacting both the air we breathe and the water we cherish. Pipelines, mines, and waste incinerators near our homes lead to higher rates of asthma, diabetes, and heart disease. In the Twin Cities, Native and Black communities experience over twice the rate of asthma. Let's not forget that water is life. It's something we must protect as a vital resource and way of life. In Minneapolis, our vote helped close the Smith Foundry and bituminous roadways. Let's continue using our vote to fight for climate justice. Make voting a tradition, or MVAT, empowers Native communities by increasing voter turnout and supporting conversations about critical issues like clean air, water, and health. By getting involved, we shape the policies that protect our families and environment. Find your nearest polling location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a tradition for future generations. That's sos.state.mn.us.
This November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship agreements to manage federal lands, we return the lands of the Upper Sioux State Park to the Upper Sioux tribe and over 11,000 acres back to the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwa. This November, vote for the party that stands with our community. Vote Democrat.
Paid for by the Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
For everything you need to know about voting in Minnesota, visit the Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org. Find out where to vote, check registration status, and view sample ballots. Again, for all your voting information, go to mnvotes.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies are trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events. And as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Dega. This portion of the show is supported by JS Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
We're going to, speaking of keeping ourselves awake, we're going to have Robert Lilligren on here, and we're going to make him stay on the whole show because it's a big countdown here to election time, and we love to hear what Robert has to say, and we like to have the banter about what's going on here. Happy Christmas. It snowed here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say happy Halloween to everyone.
Exactly. We'll be going out there and freezing our butts off with our godchildren. And and I think it'll be hopefully a 1 hour kind of,
fill up your candy bags and run. Maybe have them run or something.
Yeah. Well, they know I like Snickers, but only a few. And they're very generous young ones, and they want to give me like 100 of them. I'm going, I can't have this many, but give me that one.
Sneak a few.
Right.
Yeah.
So, wow, totally excited to have Robert. Robert was just on, and he had to bail real quick. It looked like the internet went down or something. But hey, we have an update later from Governor Evers and health insurance enrollment in Wisconsin. And again, happy Halloween to everybody. And remember, don't wear no Pocahontas Pocahontas costume.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, speaking of that, actually, well, us as Native Americans know that, our culture isn't a costume or something to dress up as for fun. But I did see something earlier today. Uh, Unfortunately, I have to bring up Diddy, but his son actually dressed up as a Native American and had a headdress on and was getting quite the comment section earlier today on Instagram.
It's interesting. I was interviewed today from a Minneapolis, featured in a Minneapolis article in the paper. And one of the things the writer said was that, people still think we're not here. They think we're dinosaurs and not here. And it's amazing to be reminded of that, because I feel like sometimes I'm sheltered because I hang around with people that know that we're
Yeah,
still here.
that's so true. Yeah, it's important. And I think still big Halloween places too, like Spirit Halloween. Oops, just called them out. But they still do sell native costumes and
Yeah, you
things
can
like that.
you can find them. Hey, we have our friend Robert Lilligren, CEO of Native American Community Development Institute, and I am one for one on that now. And good thing we haven't had Dr. Stately on this week, so I'm all ready to go. Great to see you, Robert. I'm excited. I am really excited. Seriously.
Booster Haley, Booster Robert. I'm excited too. Sorry, I'm having technical issues, and I was in the office all day working on my laptop without plugging it in, so now no battery. So I'm on my phone. So I hope that's working for you.
Yeah, it works good. It works good. I like that shirt you have there too.
Me too. It's the sought after item in Indian country these days. I didn't think you'd be able to see the words. I don't know if that causes issues with you, but everybody wants one of these.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, Haley, is that the one that you couldn't get me?
Yeah, who is that? Who's that picture on there? That native guy. Is that Zane? Who is
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the cop from Reservation Dogs.
Zane McLaren?
Dogs
Yeah.
reference in
Oh.
and somebody from NACDI, Make Voting a Tradition, saw one out at a conference. Was it in Arizona or California? And we're working with our national partner on turning out the votes, Illuminative. And they were the ones who created this. And so we said, yeah, we want 1,000 of those T-shirts. And I'm not sure if we got 1,000, but they sent us a bunch. We put a few away to pull out for raffles and stuff, but they went like hotcakes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Robert, I really, really am truly excited. We had Governor Evers on yesterday,
I
and
know.
and it's amazing. One of the things that it's hard for me to remember is that this is a really unique run, and the excitement that's surrounds this election is electric, and I really believe we're going to have a tsunami.
I am hopeful as well. So let's see where this goes. And there's so much kind of going on sort of underneath the surface, right? And so we see the polls, which I think are ridiculously close, but there's so many dynamics that I think are shifting votes. And I have a hunch it's going to be a lot better on Tuesday than a lot of people might think. But I will also say folks have a lot of anxiety around this election. And I'm getting calls, contacts, texts every day. People are like, what's going to happen? Is she going to win? And at this point, it's just keep your eye on the prize and keep moving forward. Turn out votes. Bring your friends, neighbors, relatives to the polls. And that's the best we can do. At this point, I think any kind of polls or other data aren't really helpful.
Well, I did see somebody report yesterday, and they compared the numbers at this time with Biden's numbers and Harris's numbers, and they're saying landslide. And that's where I'm going, and I feel like I'm not going to watch much news until the night of, and
Right.
we're going to be running. As a matter of fact, AM 950. We're going to be on all night, and we'll be stopping in. And where are you going to be watching these results?
Probably at home. I've been invited to a couple of watch parties, results watch parties. But as I told the host, I said, I'm not very fun at a watch party. I have 2 or 3 devices with maybe 20 to 30 tabs open for different races. And I'm just flipping between them constantly. And then on my television, some cable analysis going on. And yeah, it's not pretty. I'm a little too much of an election junkie, I think. So I don't think I'd be fun at a watch party. So I'll probably be here at home, just watching many races results come in.
Well, Robert, I think we mentioned this last week, but we're going to be going live, and maybe I can reach out to have you come in and give some reports, because there's a lot going on here in Minnesota. And with AM 950 doing coverage till 11 o'clock, we have a lot of good room for somebody like you with 3 or 4 phones open and telling us what's going on.
I would be happy to help. It'll be it'll be a way of using all this stuff I'm cramming into my brain. And so I'll be watching for, we have big races in Minnesota where folks probably know our Democratic Party, the Democratic Farmer Labor DFL Party, has had a trifecta between the governor's office, the state Senate, and the state House. So maintaining that, maybe increasing those leads. They've done amazing things here in Minnesota. On the national scale, when Vice President Harris gets elected with our governor, Tim Walz, our lieutenant governor will move into the governor's office. Native woman, my whiter sister, Peggy Flanagan. So there's just a lot to be hopeful for.
Totally excited. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're here with Robert Lilligren and Haley Cherry, and we're excited. We're going to be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let
howl.
Howl!
For nearly 10 years, Make Voting a Tradition has empowered Native American communities by bringing friends and families together to talk about important issues. NBAT is increasing voter turnout and ensuring Native voices shape the future. This election season, skip the crowds and vote early in Minnesota. Elders and busy voters can vote in person before Election Day. Find your early voting location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a lasting tradition for generations to come.
This November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship agreements to manage federal lands, we return the lands of the Upper Sioux State Park to the Upper Sioux tribe and over 11,000 acres back to the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwa. This November, vote for the party that stands with our community. Vote Democrat.
Paid for by the Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
For everything you need to know about voting in Minnesota, visit the Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org. Find out where to vote, check registration status, and view sample ballots. Again, for all your voting information, go to mnvotes.org.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit and Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACDI, in Minneapolis.
Hey, Haley, I know you were at the last day here at the Four Sisters Market at Native American Community Development Institute.
I was.
I know it's sad. It was so cool, and things were going so well, and
Yeah, the
I'm
market
gonna
is
miss that.
I know, it really is the place to be, especially like the Four Sisters Farmers Market opens up, I think, like in May. Well, it goes the whole summer, but goes through the end of October. And they did have to move it inside today, but the vendors were there, community was there, and it's all you need.
Speaking of community, we got Robert Lilligren here, President and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And wow, we were talking about the excitement, and
Yeah.
I am so excited.
Well, and I am excited too, and I gotta tell you, it was great seeing you, Haley, at the market. It was kind of nice indoors. The weather was really harsh here, rain and snow and cold. So we moved it into our gallery, All My Relations Arts, which happens to not have a show up right now, and a new one's going up very soon. But the vibe was great. It was such a successful market season, and we'll look forward to again next year during the market season. It's always a pleasure to see you. And to the spot that you did in that break about make voting a tradition and early voting, yesterday was just a dynamite event at Little Earth of United Tribes, an early voting event. And so if folks aren't from Minneapolis, Little Earth of United Tribes is a HUD Section 8 housing development that's allowed to grant Native preference. So it's really the heart of the residential Native community in South Minneapolis and really gives us presence. And the city of Minneapolis, in an effort to make voting more accessible, set up a number of pop-up early voting sites. And Little Earth was one of them yesterday. And so Make Voting a Tradition was there, helping to facilitate community to vote early. I think it was over 300 voters at the Little Earth pop-up site, which was wonderful. They've surpassed their goal. They now have over 30% of Little Earth residents that voted yesterday. So that's the Native voice and Native power, which was great. 40 of our unsheltered relatives, our relatives living without shelter, were able to vote yesterday, and about 90% were first-time voters. So just to really point to how some effort can really make a difference.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so amazing. And that's amazing in any community. So I'm
Agreed.
totally blown away.
Right. It's so different. You don't think of the Native community that way. And I'll tell you a couple things. One, our U.S. Senator Tina Smith showed up. Our Representative Ilhan Omar, local city council member, Jason Chavez, former mayor Archie Ryback. They went out door knocking in the community there and spoke to the community there. And it's important for us to remember these elected officials don't show up out of the kindness of their heart, although they are all very kind-hearted people. They show up because they acknowledge that the Native votes can be swing votes in these elections, and that Native votes are power. And so we're gaining attention.
That is just amazing. That's just amazing.
Yep.
Hey, there's a lot going on, and I don't want to get dark or anything, so we'll talk positive.
Okay. And one other big positive thing to say, Robert, about yesterday at Little Earth with the early voting. And I'm a former politician, a recovering politician.
Yeah.
So I have door knocked at Little Earth for maybe 25 years at different campaigns and election cycles. And 25 years ago, 10 years ago, it was very difficult to motivate people to the polls. And I remember standing at our relatives' doors and saying, okay, there's your polling place right there across the street. Let's go vote. And residents there were not interested. They were actually often a little hostile to the idea. But yesterday, during this massive get out the vote effort at Little Earth, there was excitement, there was enthusiasm. The Make Voting a Tradition canvassers, many of whom are Little Earth residents, were excited about getting their neighbors and their relatives to vote. Voters were excited about getting their friends to vote. And I just really want to lift that up about how different that is from maybe 20 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And, that's changing a system, right? That's getting a community and a culture that, for very good reasons, resent government sometimes and were uninterested in participating in voting, and now they're enthusiastic.
That is that is such great news too, and I like the history about it too, because 10 years ago is not that long ago, and
Right.
I remember a couple cycles ago that people like make voting a tradition up north really got 8,000 people registered for the first time, Native Americans up north, and that always blows me away when I think about that.
Yeah, that's huge. In Make Voting a Tradition, organizers were very involved in Minnesota's redistricting, the last redistricting, and really brought technology and education and voice to our reservation relatives and those living up in the northern part of the state, which is a lot of the population. And we're able to craft a congressional district that has all or part of 3 reservations in it for the first time in Minnesota. And so now we can really start impacting both those federal elections, the state legislative districts that are based on those lines. And so that's another thing that I'll be watching on election day to see how all that's going.
Wow. I'm more excited now. That's awesome. I was going to say, Kamala spoke where Trump spoke in Washington, and first reports were there were like 20,000 people there, but the latest report there were 75,000 people there.
Yep, 75,000, like 20,000 plus more than Trump's crowd. So we all know how much he loves to brag about crowd size, right? So Kamala's pulling in the larger crowds. That was an incredible speech, and I think that Vice President Harris has just been on fire the last couple of weeks, and every speech is better than the last. I don't know if you got a chance to see her Madison, Wisconsin speech from last night, but that is one of the best pieces of political speaking I have ever seen, best speeches I have ever seen, and I've seen thousands. So that it's just something. There's something happening here that's very exciting.
What makes it a better speech in your eyes?
A number of things, right? It's a lot. Some of it maybe is intangible, but it's this combination of presence. She has a presidential presence, a commanding presence. She has clear spoken. She has a clear message that she is delivering in a very, very strong way. She has a crowd that is with her completely. So that kind of lifts up the rhetoric, and then there's kind of this this sort of mystical almost kind of thing that happens when all of these elements come together in a balanced way, and that's rare. That's rare to see. She doesn't stumble, she doesn't question herself, she's direct, she's not rambling, she's not confused, she's not lost, she's not senselessly dancing around the stage, and there's just this sense that she's a nice person, right? She's someone that you can trust with nuclear codes. You can trust with the executive within our country, and I'm just super excited. So she has another Wisconsin rally tomorrow, right? And I'm really interested to see what happens there, because as we get closer to election day, she just starts getting sort of better and better, while we see Trump just deteriorating.
Really deteriorating. And one of the things, and I don't know if it was just started really paying attention, but when Governor Walz joined the race and talked about prior to that how weird they were,
right?
I really felt like the Democrats really started telling the truth about who they were running against.
I agree, and not just Democrats, but journalists as well. And I don't know how much that kind of messaging actually impacts Trump's base, the MAGA people, right? They relish that. They want the opposition to be upset with them. They think that's a good politics, and which I don't really understand, and I'm not supposed to understand, I don't think. But but people are at least willing to call out Trump and Vance on their BS and on the ridiculous things they say and on the lies they tell. And I see that permeating down the ballot as well in Senate races, congressional races, even state races now, where it seemed like for some reason in 2016 and even in 2020, it was also weird and new that I think journalists, kind of tried to be respectful maybe, or Democratic politicians kept a little bit of an arm's length. But now people are putting it out there, right? They're telling the truth. These are lies. This is weird. This isn't normal. And I think that is important. And I think it's refreshing.
Well, what it also is refreshing too. Well, let me back up a second here. I know we only got a little bit in this segment. So I was watching the World Series, and the ads that came on that were talking against Kamala, I was laughing. They were so ridiculous.
They're so bad. Yeah.
Is that all you got?
That's all they got. That's all they got.
It's crazy. Hey, we're here with Robert Lilligren, and we're having fun, and we're getting closer and closer. What is it, day 4?
4 days, yeah. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Hey, we're talking a little fun politics here. We're going to be right back. We're with Haley Cherry and Robert Lilligren, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Every day, our people suffer at the hand of domestic and sexual violence. But you are sacred and deserve to be safe in your own home. Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. Native-centered, empowerment-based, trauma-informed advocates offer safety, sovereignty, and support. Call or text 844-7NATIVE. To chat online, visit www.strongheartshelpline.org. Reach out today.
Fossil fuel camps, like pipeline and oil drilling villages, are increasing violence against our Indigenous sisters. Temporary workers from these camps have led to a surge in sexual assaults. In North Dakota, assaults on women rose by 75% after man camps arrived during the 2000s oil boom. We must hold big oil companies accountable for this violence and demand action. By electing leaders that prioritize the health and safety of our Indigenous communities, we can fight back. Our vote is our voice. It's time to use it to protect our people, stand up for climate justice, and ensure a safe future for our next generations. Make voting a tradition, or MVAT, is about strengthening our Native communities. NVAT is here to boost our voter turnout and spark important conversations about the issues that matter most to us. Find your early voting location at sos.state.mn.us. Let's make voting a tradition so we can fight for the safety of our communities.
This November, we have a clear choice for who's truly fighting for our Indigenous communities in Minnesota. Democrats created the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force, made college tuition free for Native scholars, and legally affirmed our Native sovereignty. By signing co-stewardship agreements to manage federal lands, we return the lands of the Upper Sioux State Park to the Upper Sioux tribe and over 11,000 acres back to the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwa. This November, vote for the party that stands with our community. Vote Democrat.
Paid for by the Democratic Farmer Labor Party.
For everything you need to know about voting in Minnesota, visit the Secretary of State's website at mnvotes.org. Find out where to vote, check registration status, and view sample ballots. Again, for all your voting information, go to mnvotes.org.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger. Purchasing a human being for sex, you make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
The Minneapolis Institute of Art is featuring the art and legacy of Jody Falwell, a groundbreaking potter from Capa Owinga, New Mexico. Over the past 50 years, Falwell has revolutionized Pueblo pottery and native art by weaving in personal, political, and social stories into her pieces. Her exhibition titled Opawa Omung shows the incredible range of her work and the impact she's had on both native and contemporary American art. You can check it out at MIA through January. For more info, visit artsmia.org.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're here with Robert Lilligren, President and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And I'm giddy, Robert. I'm giddy. And what great news about, getting out the vote. And that I'm still like stunned in what you're talking about with Little Earth.
Yeah, and the community more broadly too. And the reservations are fired up and organized, and Make Voting a Tradition has been working on in several reservations now. And it was interesting to watch how that work developed. And we started doing outreach maybe 2 national election cycles ago. Last in 2020, we were very deliberate and we were very intentional about being respectful and approaching our reservation relatives, bringing something, right? We weren't asking for anything. We were bringing resources, but I'll tell you, it still took time to build that trust to really fully engage. We're kind of the big city Indians, and there's a lot, sometimes a lack of trust between the urban Indian communities and the reservation communities. But this year, because of the good work of so many people based here at Make Voting a Tradition, reservation-based folks, it's a whole different story. And we have crews. We've had crews, I think, on 5 reservations this cycle by invitation. Reservations are inviting us in. They want us to be present. We're sharing the tools of organizing and getting people registered to vote and voting. And so there again, it's relationship-based, it's trust-based, and it takes time to change systems, but it is worth the work.
Absolutely. Just exciting. And I was giddy before you came on here, but really listening to that, it's amazing.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I'm just stunned at the good news.
Yep. And I noticed you're wearing your Make Voting a Tradition t-shirt. That's last year's model, the pink one.
Yeah, I know. I tried to get Haley to scoop me up one.
We'll get you one. This year's green.
Oh yeah, the green Make Voting a Tradition shirts. Are those the ones you guys gave out at your open house?
Yeah. Green for the environment. And we have a bunch of t-shirts. We engaged 6 Native artists in our network to produce 3 voting themed works each. A lot are centered around environmental themes and or sovereignty themes, or protecting our land and our rights themes. And then we turned several of those into t-shirts, signs, stickers, and we have a billboard up on 94 at 42nd Avenue North. We have animated stuff on electronic kiosks all through downtown Minneapolis. But so we have a lot of t-shirts, but every year Jolene Jones picks a different color for those t-shirts. Jolene Jones is our statewide coordinator and our secret weapon in organizing in the Native community. Last year we picked pink because we had a coworker who was going through treatment for breast cancer. So to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Well, I want that shirt that you're wearing right now.
I'll see if we have one.
Yeah, I think they might have more on Tuesday on Election Day. I know you guys are hosting a event. Robert, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Tuesday we'll be having an almost all day long event. So I think it starts at 10 or is it 11? But at our building on East Franklin and 15th, the little yellow building that houses Powwow Grounds Coffee Shop, Make Voting, or All My Relations Arts Gallery, and our offices. And it's going to be out in the parking lot. There'll be food, music, a lot of excitement. Like last election cycle, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we had a huge electronic billboard parked right out there that drew so much attention. I can't remember how many dozens of voters we hooked in because of that billboard. We were able to facilitate them getting to their polling places in Minnesota. We have same-day voter registration, so we're able to get more people to vote. But it's just going to be a good time in celebrating Native voters and Native votes, Native voice, and just building more sort of positive vibe around the election.
The only thing you're missing is that inflatable colon that I love.
That you'll have to talk to Dr. Stately about. Yeah. That's his baby.
Made famous in a play.
Right. And I have a Facebook, I think, profile picture of me in the inflatable colon. And so folks listening know Native American Community Clinic hosts this giant inflatable colon that you can walk through to raise awareness of colon cancer and other issues. But it is pretty good.
That's awesome. Wow. Excitement, and today's another day closer. And I don't know, I'm just kind of keeping my spirit. I watch a little news, but I'm not getting deep into it. I watch the World Series. I'll probably watch the rest of Murders in the Building tonight after Halloween, after we take our godchildren out trick-or-treating for 10 minutes because it's so cold.
Yeah, my husband's sworn us off the news for about the last week. He just can't take it anymore. Yeah. So we do a little bit more entertainment watching, and I don't blame him. And again, I think between now and Election Day, a lot of the news is just noise. You know, it's really pushed toward Election Day, turnout votes, volunteer, contribute to campaigns, and it's to take action.
Yeah.
But it's hard to continue to watch the news.
It is. And every night it seemed like, corporate media always talking about how close it is. And I don't believe it's this close at all. If we all go out and vote.
Right. And we'll see. And I feel the same way. And, there's winning the popular vote. There's winning the Electoral College. But even some of the more recent analysis that I've come across shows a powerful Electoral College victory for Harris. You never know. And then there's going to be the time after the election, right? Yeah. And so what's that going to look like? And I know a lot of the leads of the Native orgs here are doing contingency. Oh, I'm frozen.
Yeah, but I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Maybe I'll turn off my camera. So they're doing contingency plans, security plans, in case all hell breaks loose after the election. And, and here, I feel like we're kind of prepped for it since the post-George Floyd murder, and we felt like Civil War here, right? It felt like Civil War. And
it was unbelievable. I remember our old producer, Ogama, and her husband were there with AIM and protecting the buildings. And and what a great job. The only place that got burned down was McGeezy, and that was almost a fluke.
Right. It was a fluke. Nobody really tried to burn it down. It just had, sparks laying. It was right across the street from the 3rd precinct that burned. And on Franklin Avenue, the American Indian Cultural Corridor, there was almost no damage, one broken window, because the community came together, protected our Native assets and the non-Native assets of our neighbors and our Native people and our non-Native people. And we protected ourselves. We showed the world that we could do that. The police didn't have time to protect us. If anyone was going to protect us, it was up to us. And there was a strong National Guard presence. Right outside my house here on Franklin Avenue, there was this massive I shouldn't say massive, but this startling National Guard initiative. 5 minutes after curfew, the first night of curfew, people were still outside and the National Guard went nuts. And it was much more brutal than I thought it was going to be, but I think we need to be prepared after Election Day for similar kinds of stuff.
I don't want to get too deep in this, but I do remember how Little Earth stood up for themselves. Was watching live video and how they shoot away all these people that were marching towards Little Earth. It was amazing. And I
Right.
think Jolene was there too.
Oh yeah, no, I was had 2 cell phones going. I was watching that live. I was like, Jolene, get out of there. I seriously thought someone was gonna die. That's what I was waiting for. And then first off, the protesters were marching toward Little Earth, and Little Earth put up barriers and were able to divert them. And then the National Guard marched on Little Earth, and they to the National Guard, Little Earth just looked like a bunch of rabble rousers, the Little Earth residents. So they kept marching, and I'm like, oh my God, I was just waiting to watch. I was watching all the live feeds. That someone's going to get shot, someone's going to die here. And then the most amazing thing happened, Robert, that you never see. The National Guard stopped and then retreated. And I remember I had Jolene Jones on one phone and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan on another. And to this day, I still don't know who gave that order. I suspect it was the Commissioner of Public Safety, but someone had to tell those guys to turn around, because how often do you see that? The National Guard retreating and nobody getting shot.
Never. And I'm sure it was a combination of you talking to the lieutenant governor and the governor, and I believe he turned them back, but I don't know that for sure. But that's a good memory, and that's just we have our T-shirts that say resist, but they also should be resilient, because that just proves the Native vote and what happened during George Floyd and all these things that have accumulated up to now, where we're going to show power in voting.
Agree. And just the power of our community, right? And I don't know how familiar you are with the Many Shields Initiative, but another community-based protector initiative. And at the most recent meeting this week of the Metropolitan Urban Indian Directors, the directors of a lot of the orgs, Division of Indian Works, McGizzy, Center School, Noahi School, we're talking about the impact that the Many Shields protectors have had on their properties. There's just a lot of stuff going on with unsheltered homelessness and street crime and open opioid use. And so the Many Shields protectors have deployed around these key Native organizations, and the heads of these organizations are just amazed with the positive impact they've had and the safety that they bring. And again, it's the Native community doing for ourselves, right? Nobody from outside is protecting us. We're protecting ourselves.
Wow, that's amazing. And I have seen that, and I can't make that meeting because it's during the show, but I definitely am keeping in touch with what's going on there with the Many Shields. Good men doing good work. And Robert, we have one more segment. Do you think you could hang on for just a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Haley just asked me for 3 segments, but sure. We're having so much fun. I'll grant you another one.
We'll keep you on. I just want you to say what you finish your thought, and we'll let you go.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. We'll be right back.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Every day, our people suffer at the hand of domestic and sexual violence. But you are sacred and deserve to be safe in your own home. Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. Native-centered, empowerment-based, trauma-informed advocates offer safety, sovereignty, and support. Call or text 844-7NATIVE. To chat online, visit www.strongheartshelpline.org. Reach out today.
Make Voting a Tradition empowers Native American communities through civic engagement. For nearly a decade, MVAT has increased voter turnout by encouraging friends, family, and neighbors to get involved. By building trust and community engagement, MVAT ensures Native voices help shape the future. This election season, voting is easier than ever. Minnesota voters can cast their ballots early so elders and busy voters can avoid the rush of Election Day. Find your nearest polling location at sos.state.mn.us, and let's make voting a tradition for future generations.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Ani, and I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh! Hey, we're back, and we're with Robert Lilligren, and I just wanted Robert to howl with us again. He's president and CEO of Native American Community Development Institute here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis. And Robert, we only got a few minutes here. I'd love all the great news that you have given us today. I'd love for you just to give us a couple minutes of whatever you want to talk about before we let you go. That was amazing 3 segments.
Yeah, thanks. And again, always thanks for having me on. Thanks for lifting up the community's work. One of the exciting things that's going on within NACDI and near NACDI is the production of a movie called Native Love Jams, based on a written work that came out of NACDI and All My Relations Native Authors Program. And so one of the participants in our Native Authors Program wrote this novel, Native Love Jams, and then created a screenplay, and it's being produced. It's being produced by our NACDI's development vice president and directed by a former NACDI employee, Elizabeth Day. John Williams is our vice president. Tashia Hart is the author, and there's a table read coming up on December 5th. I know, Robert, they're trying to get their claws in you to be part of that table read. And so
only I could read, Robert.
But it's just, it's so exciting to see those kind of concentric circles and impacts come out of this piece of work. So that's super exciting. And in the other conversation, and I don't really have a point here, I'm just speaking off the top of my head, but one of the things we've been talking at NACDI about a lot is, we're a systems change kind of organization, and we stay authentically grounded in community through our project work of food sovereignty with the farmers market and our farm, arts and culture through our All My Relations Arts Gallery, civic engagement through Make Voting a Tradition, and we're trying to change systems, right? And one of the things we've been really mulling over and talking about is how you effectively change systems. And it's not like you take this giant bite out of this giant system. It's really one person at a time. And whether that's a community person or someone who's part of the system or someone who's seeking to be an ally, and you really need to spend the resource and time intensive efforts to change a person's heart and mind, one person at a time. And that's a lot of work, but it's really the only effective way of doing it. And so I suspect as we prepare for 2025 and beyond, we're going to really start iterating that more and putting that a little more forward about how we work to change hearts and minds one person at a time.
Well, you talked about that earlier. That blew my mind about, 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
People didn't want to hear about voting, and making voting a tradition's been in the community for quite a while here. And one person at a time is their minds being changed that, hey, this is a cool thing.
Right. That's it exactly. And And then the other kind of big theme, and I know I'm really just talking, this is really not that well formed, and I apologize, but is about what activism means, right? What systems change, what advocacy means. And so we're so accustomed to having to fight for access, fight for a place at the table, fight to get our voices heard. And now we're entering this era when we have people like Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Secretary Holland and Congresswoman
Well, and yourself,
You're too
with
kind.
Minneapolis, with Met Council, all those things that I've been a part of in a peripheral or a good way.
Right.
That's changing systems right there, and it's still slow, but the door's open.
The doors are open, and then what do you do with that access, right? And in my experience, as a local policymaker for 25 years, it's often people can't stop fighting, right? We embrace the fight so much that once we have fought and created that access, what do we do with it? And I have seen so many times really successful direct action kinds of activists can get to the table, but then they can't give up the fight. They just want to keep fighting. And it's like, okay, wait, this is access. This is where you can work to change the system. So I suspect in 2025, we're gonna be a little more deliberate about that, about preparing people to best leverage and employ the access that they've helped create.
Wow, that's awesome. And again, I love if I ever would become a leader of a organization such as yours. I just love, again, I bring this up a lot, but it's so true that you've gone back to our roots and made this person take care of themselves first.
Right. And we were just having conversations about that. One of our superstar staff people, Angela Two Stars, who runs All My Relations Arts Gallery, and she is a now internationally known public artist. And we were talking about exactly that. She was invited to a college in Michigan, to talk about her experience and things recently. And she brought up what you're talking about, which is our indigenized approach of caring for ourselves first, then our families, and then our organization and community, and the phenomenal and transformational impact that's had on our work. And her audience, every audience we talked to about that, is so receptive and interested, and they want to know more. And she was saying that the professor who organized her talk at this university said to her afterward, how impressed he was about that approach and how he wanted to learn more. But he also said, I think I needed to hear that today more than the students.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know why. We're trying to figure out how we can publish about this and popularize this approach. And I think every organization, nonprofit, private sector, governmental sector, public, could embrace this approach. And I think it would have a transformationally positive impact on our work.
Yeah. And, you're proof in the pudding. You were a little, apprehensive, and look at what's going on here. And other people were apprehensive, and I can see it when I come visit, that there's stuff happening, and people are healthy.
I love to hear you say that. Thanks for the affirmation. I did resist this approach. Respected elder, Linda Eagle speaker, taught me this during COVID. And I resisted it. I'm like, no, we're indigenous. We take care of the whole. And she just kept repeating to me like I was a little kid. Robert, the indigenous approach, that's the colonized approach. The indigenous approach is to care for yourself, then your family, then your community. And so finally, I just decided to believe her, even though I didn't have proof, and to put that into play in my own life. I saw how that transformed my work and my approach to the community work. And so I encouraged it in our staff at NACDI. They resisted because it's just not how we're conditioned in this day and age, right? And once they truly embraced this indigenous approach, it has been amazing. Folks show up to this work. They're ready to give 110% because they're taken care of, their families are taken care of. And those are the filters we use. That's we've been sort of instructed now to do. And so if If you're feeling poorly or you have a child that needs some attention or someone in your family, those are the filters of priority. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, then your work. And the dirty little secret is that people come to work ready. I get so much more work out of these professionals because of this approach.
Robert, well, we kept you on the whole show, and I'm so glad. Sorry about that. Great having you on. And,
always a pleasure.
Knowledge. Right on. Hey, this has been Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake. We had Robert Lilligren on and Haley Cherry. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier now.